A trip to the great cathedral of English football awaits. We've reached the quarterfinals of the Emirates FA Cup.
It's a brilliant Manchester City goal.
And Burnley have finally found a way.
A brilliant feat. Oh, it's a quite wonderful goal. Tyrese Dolan. Blackburn lead. It's over in behind Sterling, and it's 1-0 Brighton.
Grimsby lead at Southampton. What a story this is.
And the shot finds the back of the net.
Superb strike.
Welcome to the Emirates FA Cup preview show. Coming up, a legend returns. Burnley boss Vincent Kompany on his Manchester homecoming.
My wife is from Manchester. She's been a Blue all her life, but on the day, I think everybody's going to be supporting for Burnley.
The Erik ten Hag era is up and running at Manchester United, but are they heading for a domestic cup double?
Every United fan has said words to the effect of, I'm really glad we got Ten Hag. Manchester United this season are slightly ahead of schedule. They look pretty likely to be playing Champions League football next season, and they've already won the League Cup.
On course for the Premier League, Sheffield United face Championship rivals Blackburn.
If we could manage to win the quarter-final and give the fans a chance for a day out at Wembley, that'd be another big step.
And Everton great Kevin Sheedy relives an iconic quarter-final goal.
It's a piece of history I'll always have, and it just points out to younger players, practice makes perfect.
I've learned from every manager I've had. At City, obviously, you had the man management skills of Mark Hughes, who was my first manager. You had the defensive organisation of Mancini and the all-out attacking football of Pellegrini. And then with Pep, he was kind of gelling everything together.
This weekend, it's Vincent Kompany who will be in the dugout at Manchester City as the Burnley manager, returning to the club where he was a playing legend.
It's the hardest draw you could have had. You know, the Etihad away, and against Man City, especially the team that Pep has coached over the years. It's definitely mixed feelings in terms of the excitement of going back and what the place has meant for me all my life, all my career, I would say. And then also just the desire to compete, to be good on the day, to offer something, you know, of a challenge. My wife is from Manchester. She's been a Blue all her life. My kids obviously were there when we were lifting trophies with Manchester City. But on the day, I think everybody's going to be supporting for Burnley in this case, and then they can go back to support Manchester City, of course, like we always do.
Kompany won 10 major honours in his 11 years at the Etihad, a place where he's now been immortalised.
I think it's the greatest honour you can have as a player, you know. Ultimately, winning titles was the best moments and best memories I've had. But I think the way the club has almost solidified those moments, you know, it's been a true honour for me. The first trophy we won in the FA Cup was definitely the catalyst. You know, when you feel the trophy in your hands, you think that we can do it. So it was the first trophy for me as a Manchester City player, and it was also the last trophy I held in my hand.
Vincent Kompany, the statesman of the Manchester dressing room, 8 years on when City last won the FA Cup. He's going to hold it up again. History made by Manchester City, England's ultimate winners.
It starts with a manager who set the standard, and then it's the group. It's a positive group, young players and talented, and of course you need quality, and that's why we did it.
Teams of Pep have very few off days. You know, they'll prepare for the Burnley game like they prepare for the Champions League game. There won't be any difference. Now, in terms of Burnley, I think our attitude is always to try and win. Anything we've done so far has exceeded expectation. In every phase of play, I think we're showing that we have an idea behind everything. We're showing that we're able to compete in everything. It usually takes time, but the players, luckily for us, have really warmed to everything we've said and executed really well. I think the club has made great strides. You know, I think over the last 6 months, the players, everyone within the club has been able to really develop, improve. It's been hard work, but in the end, I think we're in a healthy place, and we're still looking to get better. The consistency side of it is much more, I think, than just coaching. I think it's a mental side. I think from the beginning of the season, we said we don't want to enter an emotional roller coaster at any moment. If we lose, we learn, we get better. If we win, we learn, we get better. But we're not necessarily a club that gets too much in the hype or too much in the drama. We just try and work on the details. Whatever happens in the game, you know, for us, we'll have to have the attitude of a top club. It doesn't matter whether you have the same talent, but in terms of we can work hard. You know, we can be together. We can be more together than anyone else. And those kind of little bits are maybe the 1% chance that you have in a game like this, you know. With Burnley, we have a very, very difficult game to play against Man City, but everybody's allowed to dream.
It's been a season of transition for Manchester United, a resurgence from the turmoil of recent campaigns, personified by one player above all.
Marcus Rashford makes sure the victory is theirs, and Manchester United are safely through.
Manchester United fans will be thankful that Marcus Rashford has not only got his mojo back, so to say, but it seems to be playing better than he's ever played. If you compare photographs of Marcus Rashford in 2023 to photographs in 2021, he's got a noticeably bigger upper body, which means there are certain goals you're seeing now where he's sort of pushing defenders out of the way rather than trying to run around them. You can just simply run through them. He's also scoring goals, headed goals. He's also scoring with his weaker foot as well.
If Rashford's renaissance is wonderful to see, the role played by the intense Dutchman on the touchline has been huge.
Manchester United into the quarterfinals. Magic brought by Erik ten Hag is continuing.
Every United fan has said words to the effect of, I'm really glad we got Ten Hag. Manchester United this season are slightly ahead of schedule. They're safely ensconced in the top four, in third place. They look pretty likely to be playing Champions League football next season, and they've already won the League Cup.
That was United's first trophy in 5 years. Their next challenge is a team overachieving to impressive effect.
Fulham are the great surprise this season. Marco Silva's probably a candidate for manager of the season as well. He's got a lot out of players that were disregarded and thought to not be of Premier League quality. This is the best ever season we've seen of Mitrovic in the Premier League, and one of the big benefits they have is Paulinho. He is one of the best defensive midfielders in the league.
And the shot finds the back of the net, superb goal! Paulinho!
One of the big questions here will be how Manchester United's midfield respond. The big thing for this weekend is that Manchester United will be without their best defensive midfielder. Casemiro is currently serving a full-game suspension for his sending off against Southampton.
If United will miss their Brazilian star, recovering from the recent 7-0 humiliation at Liverpool has been the manager's bigger challenge.
I think Ten Hag and United, I think the reaction was very good. Apparently they turned up at 9 o'clock on the Monday and had a video session where they watched the entire game in silence and then had another video session assessing what went wrong. It will be a result that will be in the record books for a very, very long time, but Ten Hag will probably want it to be removed from the minds of Manchester United fans.
The FA Cup has brought so many happy memories. One more win and they'll be making a familiar trip.
There was a point in time when Manchester United fans used to go to Wembley so often they called it Old Trafford South. If Manchester United want to be FA Cup champions, they have to at least accept they will probably play Manchester City at some point in this competition still. But for now, I think Ten Hag is entirely focused on Fulham and will not entertain any thoughts about possibly travelling to Wembley just yet.
Still to come, it's back to 1985 and a free kick routine with a difference.
When you've got 45,000 people chanting your name, you'd better be able to execute it.
And it's the ones you should know that prove the problem in our FA Cup quiz.
I'll tell you something more silly. I was at the game.
The FA Cup has forged some special memories in the red and white half of the Steel City. This is Sheffield United's third quarter-final in 4 years. But their current manager expects even better.
We try and play in the front foot and create chances and be difficult to play against.
Sheffield United make the breakthrough.
Really clear on that's the style of football we want to be. Without the ball, aggressive, try and win it back early.
This surely will settle it. Billy Sharp to settle it, and he does just that.
With the ball, really positive.
And Berger, that seals it.
I say to the players, I never want to be bored on the sideline. So, you know, I think the big thing for us, and it's a good thing and a bad thing, we've created the most big chances in the league this season by quite a distance. But we've also missed the most big chances this season. We've tried to embrace the FA Cup and treat it differently to the league. Once we start the FA Cup, it's been a nice break, if you like, and we've approached the games to enjoy them, try and win them, obviously, but to enjoy them, and we're going to continue to do it that way as well. It's just funny how the story of the season's always pan out, you know. We've had ups and downs along the way, managed to hold some good form, get ourselves second in the league, and at the same time find ourselves in the quarter-final of the FA Cup and potentially 90 minutes away from a Wembley game. So, yeah, if someone had mentioned this to us at the start of the season, I think everyone connected with the club would have, particularly the situation we knew we were finding ourselves in, would have snapped their hands off.
Promotion from the Championship is the focus. In round 5, the odds widened on any chance of a shock against Tottenham when Higginbotham made 8 changes to his team.
There was a lot made about the team and we were prioritising the league, and not at all. Listen, we had it was the third time we'd had a game on a Wednesday night and then a Saturday morning. So from that point of view, it was important to think about rotating the players, but it was important to freshen the team up for that game to give ourselves the most amount of energy to play a top Premier League side. I think the most pleasing thing, apart from how little we allowed Spurs to create, was we still tried to be brave with the ball, and like I say, it's tough to break Spurs down with a good defensive team, but we managed to get the goal. But from the first minute to the last, we continued to try and pass the ball, and we knew we had to try and control the game that way as well.
A brilliant feat! Oh, it's a quite wonderful goal from Iliman Ndiaye! So often the man they look to for inspiration, and he has certainly provided it here.
This season, in terms of goals and assists, his numbers have gone up. We'd like even more from him, without a doubt, because he's got, as that goal highlighted, he's got great ability and qualities, and we think we can get even more out of him. Again, I think the FA Cup's given us a different audience as well, and different people chatting about Iliman rather than just the Championship teams, managers, players, fans, media that know the Championship inside out. This Cup run's opened up a new audience to players like Iliman.
Fire and passion underpin this Sheffield United team. They'll need those fundamental qualities against Blackburn Rovers, another upwardly mobile Championship team.
We know it's going to be tough. I think the pleasing thing for us, we wanted a home draw. When we were watching the draw after the Spurs game, when we came out first and our number was out first, we were delighted, and that's all we can ask for, because a big part of the FA Cup, a big part of going deep in a competition, and a big part of the Spurs game, if you like, was the involvement of the fans. So if we could manage to win the quarter-final and give the fans a chance for a day out at Wembley against who knows, yeah, that'd be another big step, and then we potentially know what could come after that. But we don't want to get carried away. We know how tough the quarter-final's going to be, but the prize for us is that potential big occasion at Wembley where we can take everyone down there and give a good show.
I think I had these black Diodora boots, so black with the yellow Diodora logo on them, and I'm sure Gary, Phil, Neville, Ryan Giggs, someone like that wore the kind of late 90s or so. They're just some Pumas I got. It's quite hard to buy boots for me, unfortunately. First shirt I'm sure I had was a Juventus top. That's kind of like 96, 97, something like that. I was Del Piero when I was growing up, so yeah, that was it. I had the full kit and everything. The most recent shirt, the last shirt I would have bought would have been from a local team, would have been for MK Dons. That would have been my last one. about 07, 08, I think. First car, Volkswagen Golf. Run that into the ground. Absolutely devastated to have to sell it. I moved to Australia, so I had to sell it for very little by the time we're done with it. And I'm the last car I'm driving now, Audi A5. Might be the Titanic. I remember that very early in my life. Jack, I'm freezing. Feel like now. We watched Harry Potter the other night. Watched Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. The first CD I bought, do you know what? I think it might have been Eiffel 65, I'm Blue. That's all I kind of remember from my first house in England. That must be, if it wasn't the first, it was very much one of them. The last song I heard was My Alarm. Last night a DJ saved my life.
For 150 years, the FA Cup has delivered timeless moments. With every piece of magic, there's a name etched in folklore. From overnight sensations to legends of the game, these are the stories of those who've left their mark on this famous competition.
I'm Kevin Sheedy, and this is my page in FA Cup history.
Sheedy again, goes for the other side, brilliant! Absolutely brilliant! But what a lesson in taking free kicks by Kevin Sheedy.
It was a brilliant atmosphere, particularly at Goodison Park. It was a fortress, teams didn't like to come there, and we always felt if we played to a certain level, you know, we'd beat any opposition on the day. The supporters loved the football that we were playing, and there wasn't enough tickets. It was full house every game, particularly the Gladys Street where you couldn't fit any more people in. It was absolutely rammed. Fabulous times, great players, great team, and a privilege to have played for them. We won the FA Cup in 1984, so that gave the players belief that we could win silverware, and obviously took that into the 85 season. As holders, you know, you always want to try and retain the trophy, and we had great belief that we could go on and emulate the season of 84. We gathered momentum, we started winning games comfortably, and we didn't fear anybody home or away. Sixth round of the FA Cup against a good team, which particularly Ipswich had some very good players. So we know that there was going to be pressure on us, but with the confidence that we had winning games, that we knew that if we performed anything like we were capable of, then we'd have a good chance of beating Ipswich. We just see Kevin Ratcliffe leading the Everton team out. Great ovation by the supporters. At the start of the game, we got a free kick just outside Ipswich's box. Andy Gray had gone for a challenge and Paul Cooper had handled outside his box. All the players knew I was going to take it. I practiced most days when I could after training to, you know, be efficient at, you know, every angle around the box, whether it be on the right of the box or the left of the box. So I did practice and practice. So when you've got 45,000 people chanting your name, you'd better be able to execute it. I got on the ball as quickly as I could. I always used to like to try and gain an advantage. Paul Cooper was lining his wall up. I took the free kick and I bent it over the wall into Paul Cooper's top right hand corner.
No, says the referee. I didn't tell him to take it.
I was expecting the referee to disallow it, which he did, and I was putting the ball back down, and Peter Reid came across and said, "What are we going to do now?" So I politely told him to get out the way. In those days, you never used to get 10 yards, it was about 7 yards, and I moved the ball back away from the goal a yard so I could get a bit more chance of getting the ball up and over the wall. Paul Cooper had edged over too far to his right-hand side, knowing I could put it in that top corner, and I managed to get it over the wall and into his bottom left-hand corner.
Sheedy again, goes for the other side, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But what a lesson in taking free kicks by Kevin Sheedy.
Goodison Park erupted, and it was a fantastic moment for me. Ipswich came back into the game, got the equaliser. Ball gets played to Kevin Wilson about 25 yards out, and that's unlike Neville Southall, probably one of his only mistakes in his career. A soft goal to concede that gets Ipswich right back in the game. You can see a long throw from Ipswich that gets headed out to Romeo Zondervan. who finishes it with his left foot into Neville Southall's top right-hand corner. So we're now under pressure, being 2-1 down. Going towards the Gladys Street, the supporters are right behind us, and we managed to get a late equaliser through Derek Mountfield.
Vanden Hauw. Yes! Mountfield has done it! The hold on the cup has been re-established.
See the supporters celebrating, and that's the sort of team we were at that time. Never gave up, kept going right to the end. We got out of jail a little bit, and we went on to beat Ipswich in the replay 1-0 with a penalty by Graham Sharp. There was pressure on us going into the FA Cup final because we'd won the league and the Cup Winners' Cup. Looking back, we played on the Wednesday in Rotterdam, and it was a bit too soon, the final, for us on the Saturday. We probably needed a few more days to recover, but on the day we got beat 1-0 to a goal by Norman Whiteside. And I do look back and regret that what was a fantastic season, we didn't quite manage to do the treble. I was fortunate to score a lot of great free kicks. Most Evertonians of that era remember that twice taken free kick. The technique I showed in taking those 2 free kicks came from hours of practice on the training grounds. I had the confidence to know that I could put the ball in any side of the goal. So it's a piece of history I'll always have, and it just points out to younger players, practice makes perfect. I'm Kevin Sheedy, and that was my page in FA Cup history.
Finally, as ever, it's time for our FA Cup quiz. All set?
Go for it.
OK, question 1. Vincent Kompany is hoping to reach Wembley as manager of Burnley. But how many times did he win the FA Cup there with Manchester City?
Oh,
3?
FA Cups, 2.
2.
Easy one for Vincent. He won the FA Cup twice with Manchester City in 2011 and in 2019. Question 2, there's an all-championship tie at Bramall Lane. But name the last side from outside the top flight to reach the final 15 years ago.
The final. Oh.
Portsmouth beat.
Cardiff? No way.
Was it Cardiff City?
Oh, it's Cardiff to beat Barnsley in the semi, yeah.
I'll tell you what, something more silly. I was at the game.
Well, they got there in the end. It was Championship Cardiff, who were runners-up in 2008 to Harry Redknapp's Portsmouth. Question 3. Grimsby Town have reached a first quarter-final in 84 years. But which Premier League club did they beat to get here?
Southampton.
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 Correct. Grimsby were, of course, winners at Southampton in the last round, thanks to 2 Gavin Hollahon penalties. Question 4. Manchester United meet Fulham. But which striker who played for both holds the record for the fastest ever goal in an FA Cup final?
Louis Saha.
Louis Saha.
That would be Louis Saha.
Impressive stuff. Louis Saha scored after 25 seconds for Everton against Chelsea in the 2009 final. And question 5. Name the only club in this year's last 8 who also made it to the quarter-finals last year.
Quarter-finals last year.
Manchester City.
It's got to be Man City.
I'm going to go with City.
Yes, it was Manchester City who reached this stage last year, before going out in the semi-finals to Liverpool. So Carl Anker scores 4 out of 5, but carrying their league form into the quiz. Joint winners with 5 out of 5, it's the managers.
Good.
A semi-final place at Wembley is on the line, now to rise to the occasion. Enjoy the action, and we'll see you next time.
What a goal! Yes! The holders are out. It's a hat-trick for Scottos. Armstrong, he's past Law, and he scored! Look at this run by Schindler. Oh, that's a fantastic goal! Eden Hazard, brilliant goal! The touch of magic. Nifsondo's waiting in the middle, and he's done it! Can you believe it? In stoppage time!
Ten Hag's just nodded at me. How does that make you feel?
I love him. I love that man.
Oh,